You're probably wondering, why the question mark on this video's thumbnail, right? I mean, the 9 realms of Norse mythology. Sounds simple enough. Marvel's Thor already showed us how it works. Well, that's the tricky part. What we usually call Norse mythology is actually a mosaic of different sources. Sure, the 2 most famous are the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda. But beyond those, we have sagas, scattered poems, archaeological discoveries, and linguistic studies. And the thing is, these sources don't always agree. They overlap, they contradict, and often describe things in completely different ways. So, what do we end up with? A whole bunch of names, places, and concepts. Over time, scholars tried to bring some structure to all of it, and that's how we got the list of the 9 realms we know today. But just to be clear, that list, it doesn't even appear in the Eddas. It's a modern reconstruction, a scholarly framework designed to make sense of the chaos through a rational and systematic model. So here's the real question. Were these realms ever meant to be 9 distinct magical worlds, neatly arranged on the branches of a giant tree named Yggdrasil? Or are we looking at an ancient, poetic, and often ambiguous tradition through the lens of modern fantasy? Today, we're diving in. We'll explore the 9 realms, not just what they are, but where they come from, what they might have meant to the Norse, and why the story is far more mysterious than most people think. Let's talk about the realms. The usual suspects are Niflheim, Muspelheim, Asgard, Midgard, Jotunheim, Helheim, Alfheim, Svartalfheim, and Vanaheim. Sometimes Svartalfheim is swapped out for Nidavellir, depending on the source. But overall, this is the list that tends to make the most sense, at least in terms of popularity and narrative relevance. To make better sense of how these realms actually function in Norse myth, let's split them into 3 thematic groups, based on their role in Norse stories. Niflheim and Muspelheim fall under the creation realms, the primordial forces of the Norse creation myth, the opposites that set everything in motion. Asgard, Midgard, Jotunheim, and Helheim make up the main campaign realms, the realms that drive the action, where most of the myths take place. And finally, we have the side quest realms, Alfheim, Svartalfheim, and Vanaheim, less defined, more mysterious, and somewhat ambiguous realms. Still important, but with fewer surviving stories. This video is the first of a 4-part series on the 9 realms. In this episode, we'll explore the first group, the creation realms. If you're enjoying this content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next parts. In the video description, you'll find complimentary information about the series, including some of the most important books used as references, as well as a link to our website, where a full essay on the topic is available for purchase. Now, on to the video. First, let's dive into where everything begins, with the 2 forces that existed before the gods, before the worlds, before time itself. Niflheim. It is mentioned in 2 sources. The first, Hrafnagaldr Odin's, a poem that was part of the Poetic Edda until the mid-19th century, and Gylfaginning, the first part of the Prose Edda. In Gylfaginning, Gylfi, the king of ancient Scandinavia, receives an education in Norse mythology from Odin, who appears to him in the form of 3 men. Gylfi learns from Odin that Niflheimr was the first world to be created. It is described as the realm of mist, a primordial land of snow and ice. Covered by glaciers, it is cold, dark, and silent. Deep frosts are common, with frozen rivers and icy caves scattered throughout the land. At its edges, the mist condenses, warmed by hot winds blowing directly from Muspelheim. This mist turns Niflheim into a world of illusion, an undefined state between the tangible and intangible, the real and the unreal. It is also told that the deepest roots of the world tree Yggdrasil are buried in this region. This aligns with the fact that Hvergelmir, the source of all rivers that nourish Yggdrasil's roots, is located in Niflheim. This spring is filled with serpents and is the dwelling of the dragon Nidhögr, who gnaws at the roots of the world tree as he awaits Ragnarok. From this spring flowed the Elivagar, a group of 11 rivers that once poured into Ginnungagap at the dawn of creation. Muspelheim. That realm and its inhabitants appear in only two sources. Völuspá, the first poem of the Poetic Edda, Gylfaginning, the first part of the Prose Edda. In Gylfaginning, Odin continues to explain to Gylfi that Muspelheim is a land of fire located to the south of Midgard, where heat and flame are absolute. Rivers of lava cut through its scorching plains, and from its depths emerge the fire giants, who make this realm their home. In both Völuspá and Gylfaginning, it is said that at the head of the flaming hordes, the sons of Muspel, stands Surtur, the bearer of the flaming sword, who shall consume the world. He is the one who will lead the fire giants during Ragnarok, bringing about the final destruction. Beyond this, little is known about Muspelheim. There are no clear mentions of its geography, halls, structure, or any inhabitants besides the giants. Its role in Norse mythology is strictly functional, a primordial realm of fire that both gives rise to life and ushers in its end. At the time of creation, the many rivers of Niflheim froze the northern portion of Ginnungagap, the primordial void, while the flames of Muspelheim warmed the southern part. When the melted waters of Niflheim mixed with the ashes carried by the smoke of Muspelheim, a mist was formed, from which Ymir, the first of the giants, emerged. The melting ice also revealed a cow, Audumla, and Buri, the progenitor of the Aesir tribe. It was Audumla who nursed Ymir, feeding herself by licking the salty blocks of ice. But to truly understand the creation realms, we need to think not just about what's described in the Eddas, but also in geographical and cultural terms. For most ancient peoples, the idea of the world wasn't global, it was local. As far as we know, only the Greeks and perhaps the Egyptians conceived of a finite spherical Earth. Other civilizations understood the world as everything they could physically explore, and beyond that lay the lands of myth, spirits, and gods. Take, for example, one of the earliest known world maps from the ancient Near East, the Babylonian world map, Imago Mundi, from around the 6th century BCE. It shows a central inhabited region surrounded by beyond the river lands, described in mythic and symbolic terms. And this idea wasn't unique. Many ancient cultures imagined the world this way, with us at the center, and the unknown framed as the realm of gods, monsters, and magic. We live here. Out there, that's where the myths begin. Now consider the Norse world. For people living in Scandinavia, and especially in Iceland, the idea of ice and fire wasn't abstract. It was daily reality. In Iceland, volcanic eruptions and glacial landscapes exist side by side. The ground literally trembles with fire beneath layers of ancient ice. It's a world shaped by extremes, and so the myth reflects that. Even beyond the physical, Norse people observed that the farther north one traveled, the land became colder, darker, and more inhospitable. To the south, there were tales of fertile valleys, gentler weather, and abundant life. Given all this, it would have felt natural, perhaps even obvious, to imagine the cosmos as a tension between these two extremes. Yes, to some degree this is a phenomenological reading of the myth, but it's hard to believe the correlation is pure coincidence. Myth grows from experience, and this one may have been shaped by ice underfoot and fire in the mountains. That's why Niflheim and Muspelheim aren't just mythic locations. They're cosmic forces, natural metaphors, and reflections of lived reality. Niflheim in the far, frozen north, Muspelheim burning in the distant south, and between them, the world we know, carved from the body of a giant, slain by Odin and his brother's hands at the dawn of time. And that's where we go next. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this dive into the 9 realms, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss our next journey. See you in the next video. Bye.